So I feel like I've been trying to push back a little bit on all the demands on moms and how basically impossible it is to meet them all and still maintain any semblance of self. And I'm trying to do it in like a tongue-in-cheek way because, you know, this is life.
Sylvia and me.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Beckerman, host of the podcast series Sylvia and Me, conversations with extraordinary, inspiring women.
Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and I'm the host of the podcast Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And today I am on Sylvia and Me.
Zibby, thank you so much for taking the time to be here because you are one busy lady. As you said, you're the host of the award-winning podcast, because in 2020, you won the Academy of Interactive and Visual Arts 26th Annual Communication Award of Excellence as a host for individual episodes.
I did. I've won a few communicator awards and the Lovey Awards, and it's been really fun. It's been great.
Well, this didn't happen as far as the podcast until 2018. 2018, you started with Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Now, why did you even think of starting that?
I had been writing a bunch of parenting essays after my divorce, and I had suddenly found myself with extra time, which I never expected to have. But I had these long stretches on the weekends where it was suddenly quiet and my 4 kids were not with me. And I really like being busy. So I did not like that. So I started doing a lot more writing and reading, both of which have been passions of mine forever. And I finally had time to do them. So I started publishing a lot more essays. And my husband one night said to me, you know, you should take all those parenting essays you've been writing and make them into a book. And I said, ugh, moms don't have time to read books. And then I was like, oh, that's so funny. I was like, I'll just make that the title of my book. That's funny. So then I heard from a few people I asked in the publishing industry, and they were like, well, we don't think publishers will think that's funny. And you don't have any sort of platform. Like, I wasn't even on Instagram. I was just like a mom who had been doing all sorts of different things over the years. And I had been publishing essays freelance since I was 14, but I guess that meant nothing in today's world. So I had that in the back of my head, and I had coffee with a dear friend who, well, now she was a stranger then. Now she's like one of my best friends. And she suggested that I start a podcast. And I was like, well, what's a podcast? She's like, no, trust me, I'm good at figuring out what people should do. I think that's what you should do next. So I went home and I didn't even know how to listen to podcasts. We had to, my husband and I were like, where's the button? How do you even do this? And then I researched different podcasts to see what I would do. And I was like, oh, wait, I'll just use that name from the book that I'm not going to sell, and I'll use that for the podcast. So that's how it really started.
Well, it didn't just start, it grew. And I believe alongside with the podcasts, you were interviewing some very well-known authors. And you had a salon gatherings at your house with, so tell me about that.
I was doing a lot of interviews and a lot of people were local. So I would have them come over, and then I was like, I should just invite people to watch. This is so fun. Like, I get such a kick out of this. At the time I started, I knew like 2 or 3 authors, and I was like, I don't know how I'm even going to be able to sustain this model, but like, let me give it a shot. And everyone just kept introducing each other to everyone. So I thought, well, why don't I get everyone together in real life and see who wants to come? And I ended up trying it, and lots of people came, and I just decided to keep doing it. So I ended up having a salon in my house about every 2 to 3 weeks with about 40 women, always different authors, different topics, and just opening up my doors and being like, let's just have fun with this. And that was one way in which the podcast grew. And then I was lucky enough to get a lot of really great guests from the start. And I just kept adding things that sounded like they would be fun. And that's still what I'm doing, even like this week. So.
Well, and your whole theme is moms don't have time to.
Yes.
You have 4 children. I believe they're between the ages of 6 and 13, 2 of which are twins.
Correct.
I had enough with having 2 children who were 2.5 years apart. And, you know, moms don't have time to yet. It's such the opposite of what you do. because when I first met you, you were doing a Zoom event with 3 other people, and you were actually on the road to recovery from COVID. So in that time, tell us what you did. Not only were you on the event, but you had a lot of other things going on at the same time.
Well, yes. I didn't even intend to write the anthology that came out or assemble the anthology. I had released all of these essays over the pandemic and then collected them into an anthology. And when you met me, I was on my promotional tour, if you will, virtually to promote the new anthology. And all the proceeds of the anthology are going to COVID research in honor of my late mother-in-law who passed away from COVID. So I had this whole tour lined up, and then I got COVID myself right before. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is so ironic, right? Like, it's all about the quarantine. I'm donating to COVID research, and now seriously, I got COVID. It's almost like I made it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, if I could make anything. But yeah, I was in bed for 9 days. I was, pretty sick. And the worst was the dizziness and cognitive effects I had from it more than the physical effects. So that was not fun. But I did it. Yeah, I did it. And I just powered through, and I'm glad I did. And, I wasn't my best, but can't always be my best.
Well, that's the thing. And I like that you have moms don't have time to read, to quarantine, to lose weight. There's so many things that people don't understand. And that time that we take to give ourselves a break is so needed.
Yes.
And so I think what you've done in actually focusing on things moms don't have time to do allows women or moms to actually do some of the things, whether it be listening to the podcast, laughing with other people, getting together to maybe, lose weight, or talking about the fact that during quarantine, so much has been put on the shoulders of moms. Dads do some, but usually it's, they'll make an appointment here, they'll do something here, they'll pitch in, but on a regular basis, unless there's a schedule, the majority of it falls on the mom.
Yes.
So what has been the most surprising thing to you in this journey that's only been 3 years, if I add up correctly, 2018 to 2021? What's been the most surprising?
I just can't believe how many fantastic people I've met from all over the world. I never imagined that any of this would happen. If I couldn't have thought this far out. But next thing you know, I'm interviewing people from Dubai to Nigeria, it's amazing. And I've also realized, I've really found a lot of my people, right? People who also love reading and love writing, and maybe they have anxiety like I do, and maybe they have a lot of the same issues, or they've been feeling the same about motherhood, and it's just so validating. I've been a mom now, and it's not only about motherhood, this whole concept, but it is mainly driven, because I'm a mom. If I wasn't, I would be calling it, single women don't have time, I'm sure. Anyway, but I've always kind of written or done things from my point of view because that's where I am. Not to say anything that it's better or worse or anything, just this happens to be my point of view in life. Yeah, it's, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's been really, I don't even know, surprising how I found my people. And it's not always the people who are right where you live who you connect with the most. And until this, I didn't quite realize that enough. I would wait, right? These are the people in my high school. Now I'm going to wait 4 years. These are the people in my college. Now I'm going to wait. It doesn't work like that anymore. It's I go on Instagram and there are 40 people, all of whom love the same book I read last night. And it's yeah. So I don't know. I just wasn't really, I was delighted by that.
Well, one of the things you just said, it's from your point of view. You didn't think people would, it's all from your point of view. But that's something that sometimes we mitigate. Our point of view, your point of view, really can open up so many different worlds for other people who think, well, I was thinking that, but I'm not going to tell it because it's my point of view and I think that, and who else would think it? And it kind of validates some of, what moms go through, women go through. So that's great. It really is. And, the fact that you're meeting people from all over the world, that's something that this platform of podcasting, and then the fact that we've been through a pandemic for the last year, has opened up this world that we wouldn't have even thought could be opened.
Very true.
So it's pretty exciting. What do you what did you love to read? What did you love to read as a child, as a teenager? What were your favorite genres?
I mean, as a child, I read fiction, right? Whatever was around. I would read Marjorie Morningstar and like Upstairs Down. I would read anything. And then I grew out of like all the kids' books we had in the house. Then I started reading my mother's books, like Judith Krantz, Princess Daisy, and like whatever was in the house. I would just like plow through these like dense, like sagas and novels, and I would read all the classics. I read Beverly Cleary and Judy Blume and Norma Klein and Lois Lowry and just all the. Then I went into like all the Sweet Valley High books, and I don't know. I was just always reading something. And I'm not like super duper literary. Like that's the other thing. Like I thought before this whole thing, like, well, if I'm not reading the New Yorker cover to cover, like who am I to say I'm a writer or whatever? The literary world has like a big spectrum, and some people fall on different parts of it, and that's totally okay. So I was not sitting there reading Henry James or anything. So I can just get rid of that notion. I was reading mainstream popular fiction, which is frankly what I do now. I love memoir, but I read a lot of memoir and fiction, a lot of contemporary fiction. I read some historical fiction. Occasionally I'll read a thriller or two. Those are my favorites.
Okay. So what are you reading right now?
Oh, I just read this book. Actually, I'm almost done. I have like 20 pages left. It's called Eva and Eve, A Search for My Mother's Lost Childhood and What a War Left Behind by Julie Metz. And it's so good. It's about, it's coming out April 6th, about her family and her mother who left Vienna during wartime in the 2 years when the Nazis had invaded Vienna, but before she had left, and what that time was like, and then her daughter today and their relationship and all these generations of women and her research. It's so good. It's just really good.
Okay. So when did you start writing?
I started writing as soon as I could write. My grandparents like published a story I had written in a little miniature book that I wrote when I was 9. I had like a little essay, little story collection going that got published by the time I was 10. So I've always been writing, and I've always been writing to sort out my own feelings. The first article I had published in a magazine was sold when I was 14, and I wrote it after I had gained a little bit of weight after my own parents' divorce and was feeling badly about it and had some feelings about how I felt people were treating me differently at the time. Anyway, I sat down to write it as a diary entry, and I accidentally left it on the printer 1 second too long because my mother swooped in and grabbed it and read it. And she said, "You should really send this in somewhere. I bet a lot of girls would feel the same way." And I was like, "Why would I send it in where? Why would I send it in?" She was like, No. Why don't you just try it?" So we sent it to 17 and they bought it.
See that? Good thing your mother swooped in that 1 second.
Good thing she swooped in.
So you mentioned that you had been a single mom you were divorced. So, and you were able to find time to write during those weekends when your children, as is most common, every other weekend, they're usually with the other parent. What did you find that you did not have the time to do when you had the children that you would have liked to have done?
I mean, everything. I didn't have time to do anything. And while, yes, I don't want to paint it as a single mom, because very shortly after I was in another relationship and I ended up getting remarried to that
Okay.
man. So I was like having this like very
So
exciting love affair.
let's take out the single part. You're a
Okay.
mom. Okay,
Yes.
you're a mom. We can
Um,
just talk about the
yes.
fact that you're a
No.
mom.
So all of a sudden I could do all the things I did when I was younger. We could go for brunch and we could travel and explore even new parts of New York City that I hadn't been to in forever, even having lived here, into like South Street Seaport, like all these neighborhoods that I was rediscovering as a grown-up, honestly. Went to the movies, went out to different restaurants, got to know new people, new friends, and saw old friends. I wrote a lot. I wrote a book twice during that time. I I just like all of a sudden could expand my horizon again and realized what a gift it actually was. Because I never would have known without this intermittent looking up ability, how focused you have to be, right? You just think it's one day after another, but when you get a break and can reflect, I feel like the perspective that it's given me has allowed me to reset regularly and recharge, sleep. That's really what I did. Some days I would go to bed, I would drop them off at 6 and I'd be asleep by 7:30, and I would sleep like 13 straight hours.
So what was the first reaction when you first started your podcast from people who are listening? You must have gotten, well, first of all, it became popular very, very quickly. As you said, probably due to some of the people you had on, but also I think because of the title, Moms Don't Have Time To. So what were some of the comments that you would get from women probably thanking you for acknowledging, but can you tell us what some of the first initial reactions were?
No, people were thanking me and loved hearing from the authors, and also were getting so inspired to read again, because I felt so many of my mom friends had put it aside, like maybe a page or two now and again, but the sort of focus on reading is something that came back very quickly. And so that was something people started thanking me for right away. Like, thank you, you got me back into reading again. I didn't know how much I missed it.
And that's huge. And people need a push sometimes just to be able to say, okay, I deserve this. I can really do it. So what you've done is really point out that yes, it's a, it's a collective. Moms don't have time to do so many things that we don't even realize we're not doing.
But also, if we don't do any of those things, like, that's life. Like, those are all the things that make life worth living at the end of the day, right? Like, enriching your life with all these different things, whether it's, from my first anthology, being able to eat great meals or exercise, or my second anthology, I have all these essays about seeing friends and surviving illness and, having sex, and just like all these things that everybody cuts out or puts on the back burner to focus on the kids. And what does that do to us? So
what does it tell the children?
Yeah.
For a lot of children, all they see is you go, 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 go. And, for some, it could be, well, this is too much. I don't want this kind of family. I mean, there's too many, it's how am I going to be able to do it?
Yeah. I honestly think it all really started. I just couldn't believe how much was required of being a mother. Like, I've always loved kids. I've been the babysitter, the camp counselor. I've just loved kids my whole life. Couldn't wait to have kids. And I had 4 kids because I love kids. And then next thing you know, like there's so much associated with having kids that you don't even get to spend time with your kids. Like there's
Exactly.
so many forms and play dates and activities, especially in the sort of scene I have been in New York City, where, you know, I was pregnant and people were telling me I was already late signing my kid up for some music class. Like, and, you know, I was like, I don't think I want my kid. I had to take a public stand about not putting my first grader in travel soccer. And I'm like, I don't think he needs to do that 3 times. I know it's funny when you say it now, but like when all your friends are all getting together for the travel soccer thing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you're like, well, gee, I don't know. I mean, is my kid even good at soccer? Like he certainly doesn't want to play soccer. You question yourself. So I feel like I've been trying to push back a little bit on all the demands on moms and how basically impossible it is to meet them all and still maintain any semblance of self. And I'm trying to do it in like a tongue-in-cheek way because, you know, this is life, but you know,
Yes,
you don't have to do travel soccer.
but no, but see, you even said something. You don't even know whether your child wants to do that, but because it's supposed to be done, your child must want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we wind up being so, we follow what society, it tells us we're supposed to do. But are we really, you know, we start questioning, and it's good to question because your child may not want to play travel soccer. There's a lot of equipment that goes on. Well, that's hockey. I was thinking of my son at not even 5, at first wanting to play ice hockey. And I was so happy the day he said to me, I mean, he was a little guy, can I quit? It's cold. My ankles are cold. I said, bless you. Yes.
I was
He
so
didn't want to
excited.
play.
Yeah. My son had a hockey thing and then he stopped, but now he's in boarding school and he plays hockey again. But I was like, you know what? This is perfect.
Right.
You go, I'll come up for the games. Like I don't have to schlep you everywhere. But you know, that's the thing. Like I'm like letting them figure out what they want to do and eventually they find it. And I guess like I just wasn't ready. I kept saying to people like, you know, I grew up in New York and I didn't do this. Like I maybe went ice skating once a week. Like, why are we doing this? Like, and it was sort of an not unpopular, but just like, I don't know. I felt like I was being a slacker with my kids or something. Like I wasn't pushing them enough because everyone else was taking their kids to chess tournaments. And I'm like, what? Like my kids don't need to, I don't have the kind of kids who are into that, which is fine. And for the kids who want it, that's great. I've encouraged whatever they've been interested in, but I don't know. I just like travel baseball. I'm like, seriously, double headers every Saturday. Like, what does that do to our family? Now our family can't be together on the weekends. Like, so I don't know. I've made some decisions that other people, maybe they've disagreed with or whatever, but I've just kind of like decided like, this is how I'm doing it. And, you know, I hope I'm not giving my kids some disadvantage for life because they skipped out on a season of travel soccer or travel baseball or whatever.
Don't you think that if they really wanted to do it, if they really wanted to do it, they wouldn't say, mommy, 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 I really want to.
They didn't want to, they would want to do it for like once. And then like after that. So it's like, really, I'm pushing this kid to do this when I don't want to do it. He does. Who are we doing this for? Like, who is this for? So I don't know.
But that's, you know, that's the thing. We think there's no instruction book, and we wind up, for a lot of us, whatever our surroundings are, whether, you know, in New England, whether New York City, you know, you're supposed to put your kid in a Montessori school years ago. I went to visit one of those Montessori schools to check it out. And I went, no way. Because everything was so scheduled. If it's so scheduled there, that means I have to change my whole life at home. I can't do that. I didn't want to do it. So we get pressured. We put pressure on ourselves by what's around us.
Yes.
And I give you a lot of credit for not, because it takes a lot of strength to say, you know what? You go ahead, you take your children, the 10 of you, you go have a great time. I'm not. And you and your family get to do other things and get to do things together and don't have to get up at 5 a.m. to go schlep, as you said, to
And
who
I'm not,
knows where.
that works for some families, and that's
Yes, it
great. I'm not trying
does.
to judge them.
No, no.
But that wasn't working for me and
Right.
my kids. And so I wasn't going to try to fit that square peg into a round hole. But I'm glad, some people love that, and that's great. Go for it.
Yes, they do.
It's just not for everyone. It's just not for everyone.
Well, that's the thing. And one of the messages that you have is the fact that it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go by what supposedly is written down and the little rules and regs that we're supposed to do. So that to me is core in when you point out moms don't have time to, because for a lot of the things we don't have time to, we don't think about it because our heads are so into taking care of our children and what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because even as, we have more children, we're still learning. That poor first child is, the practice child. And, so your children, as I said, they're between the ages of 6 and 13.
Mm-hmm.
How did you survive the schools being closed?
It's been a long year. We've done so much remote school, and luckily, like all of them except my kindergartner learned how to really deal with it on their own. So I could just say like, goodbye, have fun. And they were fine. They'd come out for snacks or demand meals or something like that. But other than that, they were pretty much self-sufficient. And it was really just my kindergartner who needed management. I mean, he started last year on Zoom in preschool, like standing on his head. I mean, I was like, this is not going to work. Like he would look at the laptop and they'd call on him and he would just like slowly close it. And we're like, no, you just lost your class. So that's been hard. It's been hard. The beginning of the pandemic was incredibly challenging for like those first couple months with remote school. And I was like doubling down on my work stuff and trying to deal with the kids and not being with literally another soul. Like what happened to my village, So yeah, it's been hard, but I so appreciate it. The kids went to school, not all of them, but I had 3 of the 4 kids in school today, and that was like amazing. So I really just appreciate how much time I have when I have it, as opposed to taking any of it for granted.
There you go. So you also have something moms don't have time to, and you're doing a fellowship. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that?
Yep. I am sponsoring 4 women debut memoirists who I think have enormous talent, and I'm going to help them. I've paired them up with editors who I admire to help them bring their books to fruition and to get book proposals out there. And then I'm going to help them. If they want to sell them at the end, I'll help them sell it. If they just want the experiment of writing, that's fine too. But I think they all have great stories to tell. And I am excited to help get more books out into the world that I think that should be there. So I'm happy to support them. And then I just also started something called the Zibby Awards, which I was watching the Golden Globes and all these, and I was thinking like, why is there nothing for the literary world? What about like best dedication and like best copy editor and all these like things? Why do we have to reward like the video sound editing on ABC or something? Why that? So anyway, I just started it. And I'm really excited. And so you can submit as many as you want. And I'm going to have a big award ceremony in September. And I have like 30 categories. So that's really fun. And I just also announced I'm going to do my first retreat, a Moms Don't Have Time to retreat in Rhode Island in the fall. And I'm excited about that. I'll do like author events and writing events and workouts. And I'll just like include all the things moms don't have time to do in one weekend, and we'll all make time to do it.
That's fantastic. You sure you don't have anything else on your, that's not enough.
I do. I have a lot of other things, but I think we're almost out of time. But yes, I have even more things that are in the works.
Well, Zibby, where can people find out about the fellowship, the awards, your podcasts?
Follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens, ZIBBYOWENS, because I post about most of the stuff I'm doing all the time. And then my website is zibbyowens.com. And I have all that stuff on the homepage, including a video about the COVID research fund I set up at Mount Sinai for the proceeds of the book, but you can also give directly to that. So yeah, zibbyowens.com and at Zibby Owens. And that'll lead you to wherever you want to go from there.
Zibby, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing who wins those awards.
Yeah, nominate some people.
I will.
Okay.
I will. You got it.
Thanks, Sylvia.
You can find us on all of your popular podcast platforms. And of course, our website, sylviame.com. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned.